Hi, it's me again. Okay, we're going to do this whole thing over again. This whole thing, but we're going to use CSS grids now. Again, I just want to say it again. I know you've heard it many times. CSS grids with an S is not the same thing as a grid framework. In the last video, we created our own framework out of the properties we already know. We made our own classes, or in the end, we found a nice style sheet that did all that for us. And this is a great way to work. A lot of people have been using it for quite some time, including yours truly. Now we're going to get into something different. Now we're going to try out this brand new thing called CSS grids. Now this video is, you're supposed to watch this after watching the Linda tutorial video, and there's another one that I added to a playlist on my YouTube channel. So watch those first, because I'm not going to go into the beginning steps of what exactly this thing is. What I'm going to just do is use that thing that hopefully is already a little familiar to you, and we're just going to walk through the steps of creating a blog layout like you're doing for your project. Okay, let's get started. So, okay, this looks extremely familiar to you at this point. We are going to use the grid to create this. And so one thing we need to start thinking about now is not only do we have columns going on here, but now we've got, the grid allows us to use rows. So we need to start thinking about rows. And just as a visual, just for the sake of thought experiment, I added a layer here so that we can take a look a little more closely. I added up here some numbers. Remember, we've chosen a 12 column grid, and these numbers, if you recall, are the numbers of the column lines. The stuff in the middle is called the track, but this is the line right here. So if you want to say, hey, create a cell like this one here, from here to here, you're going to have to say, even though it's 4 columns wide, you have to say, hey, make a cell from line 1 to line 5. Or you can say, create a cell starting at line 1 and spanning 4 columns. You have your choice. So we just want to take a look here. So just keeping in mind exactly how many rows for what, and we can just return to this when we need to, when we get a little confused perhaps, because this is new to me too, so bear with me. I'm in Sublime. You can use whatever you want, and we're just going to start putting those boxes in and adding the grid to it, etc. So let's go through it piece by piece. Okay, up here, up top, we've got a logo and a title, and we've got a tagline. Let's just throw in the divs that we need. Let's do these first 3. Okay. And I'm going to make up class names. Div. Well, first we need a big old wrapper, right? Because we have to have a thing that's a grid container that we're sticking everything into. That's how it works. So I'm going to make a big old wrapper for everything. I'm going to call it, give the class a container. Okay, we're going to start there. Okay, now we're going to make a div, and we're going to say logo. Great. And then let's make another one. All right, div, and what was that one? Tagline. Okay. Sorry, gotta do that. And the next one was nav, the navigation. So let's just say nav. Really, we should use the nav tag, but this is fine for now. Okay, and we got nothing going on there so far. Let's just start adding some styles here. So we know we have a container. And we're going to have a logo class and a nav. Okay, we've got those going. And the container is going to be the grid itself. So we're going to have to give it that display grid. And I'm also going to create a class that just gets applied to everything that's a thing, a cell, whatever you want to call it, a grid item inside of the container, just so we can give them all certain global properties. I'm going to call that item. Yeah, item. That's a good word. I'm going to add that to each of these. Okay, and then under item, let's just let's give it a background. Okay, and let's just put something in there for now so we can see what's going on. Logo, tagline, nav. Okay, let's save this. See if anything actually happened. Did I lose something here? Logo, didn't I lose a tagline? Okay, not that that would make any difference. And then I'm going to, wait, this is where we are. Okay, there we go. Doesn't really look like anything unusual, anything different than what we're used to. But that's because we have not given it any columns to sort things out with. So let's give it some columns. I could say, let's say for example, grid template columns, and then let's just give it 1FR, 1FR, 1FR. Now, hopefully you remember from those videos, the FR unit of measurement is new. It stands for fractions. So if you gave it 3 FRs, it's going to divide it up into 3. So it's kind of like if you're ever cooking and you're like 1 part this, 2 parts that, 5 parts the other thing. That's a way of making a recipe. So it doesn't really matter how much of something, like say you're making rice, right? It's 1 part rice to 2 parts water. So you could use 1 cup of rice and 2 cups of water. You could use 1 gallon of rice and 2 gallons of water. It's kind of like that. So I'm just doing 1 part, 1 part, 1 part. But it could be 1 part, 2 part, 1 part. I kind of like this method. It kind of makes sense to me. Well, let me know how you feel. Let's save that and go back and reload. Okay, cool. So they're all lining up, looks like in thirds. It's not exactly what we want, but so that we can see it better, let's do that gutter thing that they do, the gap. They call it the gap, right? And we're going to say grid gap, and I'm going to give it a 1M. And this creates the gutter in between the items. And you can add it just to rows or just to columns, but we're just going to use it all the same. Save that, go back over here, reload. Hey, there we go. I really appreciate how easy that just was compared to getting a framework and putting everything together in rows. And hopefully over time you'll appreciate this as well. Cool, so that's not exactly what we want. Let's go back to our layout. We want this to be like that, and that to be like this, and this to be like that. So the truth is we're using a 12 column system. So we need 12 columns. So let's do that instead. Instead of 1 3 FRs, we can make 12 FRs. So copy 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. It seems repetitive, and there's all sorts of different kinds of shortcuts with CS Grid, which is really cool, but you're going to have to go look at those up in the documentation on your own. But that was actually not that difficult, so we're going to stick with that. And then we're going to save. Now let's look at it. What have we got? Nope. Okay, so we've got our 12-column system, and because we haven't given them any sort of, we haven't told them anything about how to display themselves, so they're just along for the ride. They're like, okay, I'll go here, I'll go here, I'll go here. So now we need to start getting bossy. Okay, so our logo is going to span 4 columns. So let's say there are different ways of doing this. You can say, I got a cheat here. Grid column. Grid column, what is it? Grid column start 1, grid column end, and then 5. Remember, we're going by the lines, so start at 1, end at 5. Okay, we can do that. Let me save and then view it and then follow my face. Let's see. Okay, reload. Oh, that actually worked. Okay, great. Cool. A shorthand for this, which I like, is instead of start and end, you can just say grid column, and you could say 1/5. I like the little spaces. Save that. Let's see if that works. Yep, nothing changed. That's good. You can also say, which is kind of nice, this kind of works with how I think about things, start at 1 and then span 4 columns. Not like that. Grid column. Start at the first line, span 4 columns. Let's do that for now. I'm going to work that way. You can work however you want. Save. Make sure we didn't break it. Awesome. Okay. Move on to the tagline, grid column, and this one is going to start at 5. Okay, it's starting right here at line 5, and it's going to span 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Okay, so grid column 5, span 8. Cool. And this one got bumped down because we ran out of columns. So now let's tell the nav what we want it to do. Okay. Nav, you are going to be grid column 1 span 12. No, you don't want it? Oh, column. Okay, dude, we are on our way. No kidding. Hey, okay, so what's next? Just real fast, I'm going to give us a little bit more, a few more styles to make this just, you know, pop. Much better, huh? You like that? I like that. I appreciate that. Okay, so we got our logo, we got our tagline, we got our nav. Okay, let's go now. Let's go back to the videotape. Now, okay. Now we're getting a little bit tricky. We're in the next row. Because it's a grid, we need to think about rows. And we've got this one, which we can tell it Yeah, that's easy enough. Hey, you start at 2 and span 7. And then, hey, you start at 9 and span 3. And that's going to work perfectly fine. We're going to have to deal with this whole thing here, but let's just do this first. With the framework, I created an entire box for this whole thing, an entire box for this whole section. Didn't actually do that here. I don't know, maybe I should have. I haven't had enough experience with this, but it didn't seem necessary. So then I just went ahead and created another div, and then we'll call it header 1. Is that what I said? And then after that, we have this one. Let's see, I'm going to say sidebar. Okay. And then in here, I will say header 1, sidebar. Okay. Save just for the heck of it. Let's see what that gives us. Okay, we got both of those. Oh, we didn't give them the class of item. Let's do that. And notice it already treats them as an item within the grid. We didn't have to explicitly state, hey, be a part of this grid system. We only created the class of item just to give it some styles. Just wanted to point that out. Okay, cool. So now we need to give them some specifics. Wrong one. So over here, let's say dot header 1, and we're going to say grid column start at 2 and span to, what was it, right here, span to 9. Okay. Span 9 columns. No, we're not doing that. That's right. No, we're spanning 7 columns. We could tell it to go to line 9, or we could just say span 7 columns. And then we're going to do sidebar dot sidebar grid column. Where's that one start? Well, it would start at 9, wouldn't it? Right here. Okay, starts at 9, spans 3. 9 span 3. Okay, let's see how that went. Yeah. Okay, reload. Oh, wow, look at that. Boom, 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 boom. Okay, let's do header 2, right? Is that what's next? Header 2 and then meta, and they're all kind of exactly the same. So let's do that. So div header 2, and call it head, give it some text, save, and then over here, header 2, cheater. And then that's going to be pretty much the same. Grid column 2, span 7, copy. That. Okay, save. Let's see what happens there. Oh, and we didn't give it item. Okay, now sidebar is still stuck up here. So we're going to leave that there for a little bit, and then we'll come back to it later and deal with that whole dropping it down to the bottom. Okay, what's next? There was a meta something or other there that was exactly the same width and position. So div.meta, meta, oh, we want to give it item, and then meta And then it's the same as this, so I'm going to copy that. Again, you're seeing things being repeated. Of course, there are going to be ways to shorten that, and as we go, we'll incorporate that as we go along. Save, reload. No, I beg your pardon. Meta, 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 meta. Oh, we didn't save this. Save, reload, meta. Excellent. Okay, what's next? Okay, now we have all this. This is basically the story itself. And I want to wrap this in a container because that just kind of makes sense to me. That's your main content area. I would call it the article if I were, being a good coder and using semantic tags right now, but I'm not. So I'm going to treat that as one block. Yeah, so there'll be stuff inside of it, but we'll just treat it as one block right now. So once again, div dot, let's see, article, and then let's make it an item, and then we'll call it article, save. Oh wait, gotta create that class. It's really the same thing here. Copy. Article, save, let's go over here. Nope, not you. Reload. Okay, there's my article. It's not really, the design's not really making a lot of sense right now, but the pieces are in place. And then the last thing before we start nesting stuff is, I'm going to skip the comments for now just for brevity. And we've got the footer. So let's put the footer in there. Div dot footer. Again, make it an item. And give it a little label. And then down here, again, dot footer. And this one is grid column 1 span 12. Again, all the way across the page, just like the navigation up there. So let's save this side, and go back here and reload. Done. We have all the this is basically the structure of the whole page. We need to put stuff inside of these containers, but there they are. So the last thing we need to deal with is this sidebar needs to go all the way down to the bottom. And that's why we need to pay attention to rows, and that is why I went to the trouble of adding these lines in here, because I wanted to know how many rows was I going to have to use to create this, to get this to go all the way down. And it's really looks like 1 track, 2, 3, and 4. Just a really big one, that's all, 4. So where is that sidebar? So we've told it how many columns we want it to start at. Now we need to tell it how many rows we want it to span. How did I do that again? What was the code? See, in this case, I would have totally forgotten and had to look it up, but luckily I've done it once before. Grid row 3 span 4. That works for me. I wonder if you can say grid row span. Is that a thing? That way I wouldn't even have to say what line to start at. I'm just going to try that. It's 4 columns. May or may not work. Nope, didn't work. Okay. Oh, but I know what would. You just say row and you say span 4, I think. Let me see. I'll try that. A again. It worked. So I don't actually tell it. If I say span 4, it just takes wherever it is at the moment and spans 4, which is nice because whenever you can get out of being very explicitly saying something, it's usually a good thing because then when things move around, it's much more flexible. So here, after I actually embedded, I made a widget and a widget for the widgety stuff on the blog post. I, added the nav items, etc., etc. And great. And after, this structure, you just start adding your design and you're good to go. I mean, you will hit some confusing things along the way, but that's where we all help each other out and get this done. I'm excited about this. I want to point out some resources besides the this is an extra tutorial I put on the channel that you're viewing right now. Just go to my channel and click on playlists, and there's that. There's a whole bunch of other ones. In these cases, I say just watch whatever makes sense to you. If you start a tutorial and you just don't understand what's going on, it's not your fault. People think differently. Find something that speaks your language. There's so many to go through, so don't be afraid to just click away and try something else. Also, Grid by Example is a good resource. This woman, what's her name? Rachel Andrews. Yeah, Rachel Andrew. She's just been doing a lot of work on CSS grids. So you can go there, and there's a bunch of video tutorials for that. And she gets into real detail too if you want to really fine-tune and learn all the amazing intricacies of this. I've been very impressed with that, how many options are available. And the other one was Jen Simmons. These are actually, I got these right from the Linda video, and I was looking through them, and they're fantastic. So take advantage. And if you find other ones, let us know. Share with the class. That's it. That's all I have to say about that. Now go forth, whether you want to use CSS grids or whether you want to use the floats, creating a grid framework model. We didn't talk about Flexbox. If you want to play with Flexbox, you're welcome to. I just didn't include it just to make this simpler, and it seems like CSS grid is kind of trumping that right now. That's it. All right, let's do this. Bye.